How do you manage your schedule? Come on, bro. Actually, this reminds me. Do you guys remember when we did the chat interviews, the job interview questions? And one guy worked at a gas station. His name was Vinny. He worked at a gas station. He stopped the guy from stealing something, even though he was told not to. All right, well, Vinny's in school and he reached out to me and he said, hey, I have to interview someone, an entrepreneur who makes more than 300K is what he said. I don't know why they had that rule, but I have to interview an entrepreneur that makes more than 300K. And he's like, could you please answer some questions for me? And people have asked me this a lot and I usually just say no, just unfortunately, because you know, it's just too much. Everyone, I get it from a lot of students who are trying to just get their homework done. But Vinny did something for me. He did the show and I made a video off that and I was like, I owe him something. So I was like, yeah, Vinny, I'll do it. And then he sent me, I'm not kidding, like like a massive document of questions. So, because I already agreed, I've decided I have to monetize this. So I'm going to do it live. I'm just going to answer the questions live. I just chat GPT it. I'm just going to answer the questions live and I'm going to send him the VOD. And then he will have what he needs for his assignment. Should I just do it right now? Okay. All right. I'll just answer the questions right now. I'm not prepared for this. Question 1. What is your current approach to building your personal brand in the middle to late game? You calling me old? What do you mean the middle to late game? What does that mean? Call me old as shit? When you first started, your niche was marketing expertise within the industry by working for big companies such as Twitch and Nvidia. Nvidia spelled wrong. Ever since you pivot to full-time content creation, what are your skills or niche you are now focusing on to grow and stand out? I think that I am very dumb. I think I'm a dumb person with a dumb brain, but I think in the world of streamers, I sometimes feel like that guy on Idiocracy. I feel like nobody in content creation has ever read a book. I truly feel like none of them actually sit down in the middle of the day and read a book. I actually believe that with my heart. I think they really don't. And I do that and I do read every day. So I feel like the thing I'm bringing is just a tiny bit more rigor than perhaps other people who also are as dumb and brain rotted as me. I don't think I have any unique intelligence outside of that. That's my answer to your question. Actually, I'll say one more side of it. I'll say the other side of it is there are people that do read a lot who are very intelligent, but they don't understand that in order for the medicine to go down, it also has to be entertaining somewhat. You have to say glizzy every now and then. Otherwise, people just get bored because the world is stressful and busy and everyone's got shit to do. There is a balance, and that's what I'm trying to strike. I don't always hit it, but I'm working on it. That's my answer to your question. In one of your streams, you mentioned that streamers and normal 9-to-5 workers have their pros and cons. I think what I said was streaming is way harder than a 9-to-5, and 9-to-5 workers have it easy. Streamers wish every day they could be coal miners. Because then they could finally have a break from the exhaustion. Put this in your assignment. As you said, 9-to-5 workers can clock out after they're done with work, but content creators never mentally clock out, always try to min-max their time to make content. Do you ever feel this constant climb upwards will make you feel burnt out like your peers? Matt, Pat, bro, you put my peers as Matt, Pat, PewDiePie, Tom Scott? Bro, I got like one 150th of their subscribers. That's very kind of you, but let's get real, dude. I think this is not a content creation issue. This is a owning your own business issue, which is that you're never clocking out. It's just it's like whatever, an entrepreneur issue. If anything, content creators have it slightly easier than other solo founded business because they have a more clear path. You make content. Like YouTube handles the system of delivery and everything. I just have to make the content. So it's not that bad, but still there is the beautiful aspect of, at least when I used to have a 9-to-5, that like when it's a holiday, when I'm off work, when it's done, I just felt done. I could totally relax. I didn't feel like I was wasting time. When I went on vacation, I didn't feel like I was losing salary. But like anytime you do that as a content creator, you do feel like, oh, you come back, your subs are way down. A lot of your employees are like disinterested or disengaged because you have to constantly keep them focused and moving. It's something I deal with, but it's not that big of a deal. Ideally, in a business, you'd like to have multiple revenue streams. So far, you have invested in researchers, video game developers, merchandise, sponsorship, Twitch, YouTube, and podcasting. In pursuit of diversification, have you found any particular source to be more effective than the other? And do you have plans to improve on your bottom performers or go all in on the one that's making the most money? The one that makes the most money is I find an editor like 8ish, okay? And I make them do a lot of work, but I don't pay them. Does that make sense? So I'm profiting on their labor. It's like a hidden secret that I sort of invented. I do not pay, it's just employees in general. You shouldn't pay them because then you lose some of your profits. Bro's gonna fail his assignment so bad. Please don't include that line in your personal assignment. Ideally in a business, you have multiple revenue streams. I would say, I do have these multiple revenue streams, but the only one that really matters is YouTube. it dwarfs all of the other one of these by a lot. I wouldn't say I'm truly diverse. It's not like if my YouTube got shut down, the business doesn't, I can't afford any of my employees. YouTube is the most profitable by far. Twitch exists because I'm very bad at recording offline. So I very much like to record things live on Twitch with a chat and having a back and forth and a good vibe. Twitch is a content creator for YouTube. And then I have decent merch income, but nothing insane. Sponsorships, I have Rocket Money and Huel, long-standing sponsors. They're great, but it's nothing insane. And then the video game, it did make money. It was profitable, pretty nicely profitable, but nothing insane. And certainly I'm not a long-term video game developer. I just really enjoyed it. I think that's more for the fun of it. This and the podcast are more for the thrill and the fun of it than for money. Given the vulnerability of a content creator business, whether your personal brand is so important, do you feel more aware of the potential consequences of your actions, especially considering the impact of your growing team members? I feel this I honestly feel this most when I want to be lazy. I felt bad yesterday. Whenever I take a day off, like I can afford to take a day off, but if I take a day off, then maybe there's not a clip for Adish, which is his income, or maybe there's not a new video for the 3 main channel editors. So I do feel this more lately. Or I have a researcher who's depending on like a project, or I have a script writer. I've never used a script writer before, but we hired one for this upcoming Mission Impossible video. I was like, I'm going to try using a script and make it a real YouTube video. I'm like, I have to work on that, or that person doesn't have a job. That's where I feel the pressure of what you're saying is like, navigate the balance between taking calculated risks for growth while mitigating potential negative consequences. I don't know. I think if you overthink that stuff, how do I say this? I think the only one thing I've realized is true about content is if I'm actually interested in it and excited about it, it'll shine through in the content and somebody will like it. That's my North Star. So if I'm doing something that I actually am interested in and care about, whether it's not, maybe my current audience doesn't like it much, but somebody will like it. And if I follow that, then we're fine. So if in real life, I'm not as interested in, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. If I wanted to make pure money and just farm money, probably the smartest thing to do was to never stop doing Hitman content. I should have been like, virtual. I should have been like virtual, but for Hitman. If I wanted to make the maximum amount of money, I should have just kept doing Hitman stuff. And because Hitman was my highest performing thing, I could have done a speedrun and explain for every single strategy, every single level I could have done. But if I was personally, a little less interested in Hitman and more interested in something else, then I think it's happier for me and easier to just make that video about the thing I'm actually interested in and only do Hitman when I care about it rather than try to force it. What elements of your work outside of financial gain provide you with a great sense of fulfillment? Nothing. No, just the money. The only time I get happy at all, I don't even smile off stream. The second I turn the camera off, I frown deeply. And the only time I smile is when I see my bank account. I look at the bank account and I smile. Everything else, dead inside. The greatest sense of fulfillment that drives you to make content. I think the coolest thing is when I hear from somebody that I almost don't like when they overdo it because it doesn't sound real. When I made a small positive impact. When someone's like, hey, I did a job interview and I mentioned one thing you said and they seemed to like it and it was cool, then I feel great. When they're like, you saved my life and my dog was gonna die and you saved that, and I feel like, all right, well, you're just kind of like, you're assigning too much value to what I did. But when it's a small positive impact, and I get some DMs like this every now and then, that feels great. It feels awesome. Because here's the cool thing. I never got that at any other real job. Nobody at NVIDIA was ever like, I guess occasionally someone would be like, hey, you help me out on that project. But you never get a thing of a stranger being like, wow, Frames Win Games, that really helped me. Like, I was having a tough time last week. I was sick or whatever, and Frames Win Games, really, you never get that. So that's one of the cool things, but it's not going to last. It's a unique moment in time. How do you motivate employees to work hard without making them feel stuck in a dead-end job? You mentioned on top of base salary, you give it a portion of revenue. What else do you for workers to make them feel rewarded and keep them without limiting their growth? What do you do to keep employee retention high and also prevent them quitting? The thing I believe in the most is, and I think this is true for all jobs, but real jobs will never do this, is if you get a percentage, not a flat fee, but a percentage, your motivation is like 10 million times higher. If whenever X thing does good, you do good as well, then suddenly it's like, holy, I want to work hard. But in real life, outside of consecration or like in a job, oftentimes working really hard is not only rewarded, it's punished. You just get more responsibility with no more money. And I think the biggest proof is just look at what Adish did when I gave him 40% or whatever of the Clips channel. Bro built that whole thing from scratch. I don't think it would have worked that hard if I was like, I'm going to pay you $100 a video, whatever stupid, whatever amount. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I think is a percent. If you have a percent, then it feels like if your video bangs, you get more money. You feel, I don't know. I think that's the vibe. That's the idea. But you got to balance it, because if you do only percentage, then sometimes the video flops and they make no money and then they feel bad for working that hard. So you have to balance it with your risk and give them something up front and whatever. It's a balance. How could that work in a hospital? I think a doctor should make more money for every surgery they do. So they should be incentivized to constantly tell patients they need surgeries they don't need. That way they're constantly getting their skills tested. Isn't that what they already do, basically? Or it's like the dentists who are incentivized to give a kickback to their orthodontist friend to constantly recommend braces even when this person might not need it. Yeah, I don't know if it works in every industry, bro. I'm just talking about, he asked me about mine. All right, final question. As far as I know, your content is relatively low budget. On average, is there a correlation between video budget and performance? Your most popular videos are your Hitman competitions, which cost prize pool money upwards of thousands of dollars, and most recently, your Marketing Monday video on Luka Doncic trade, which costs next to nothing. What type of video do you see yourself doing more, and which camp do you see yourself in? Increasing production costs or keeping a skeleton crew? You know who would be a great person to ask this question is Ludwig. I think he has more experience with really high budget stuff, and he has a take on it, which is that often it's not worth it, but sometimes it feels so good to him to do it. Or Mr. Beast, maybe. For me, I'm on the extreme end of the spectrum towards low budget, because I think it's mostly about managing risk. I never want one video to like f me up or wipe me out or make me have to take a sponsor I don't want to take or whatever. I like the total freedom. Let me give you an example. If somebody made a video and got 1.5 million views, right? But it cost them 50 grand to make. And I get a video that makes 500K views, but it cost me nothing or cost me 2 grand to make, then ROI wise, I actually won. You know what I'm saying? But you don't see that. If I can do it my way, I just feel like it's safer for all involved, and I can keep my team small and keep them happy and yada, yada, yada. That being said, we spent a lot of money on this podcast. This podcast is deep in the hole, and largely is because of Doug's attitude where he's like, I don't give a shit, I want to do it for fun. And I was like, well, you're right, me too. So I kind of broke my rule and I put some money in to make that nice set and to like hire a producer. And it's like, if we're going to do this, let's do it right and have fun. And I think that's more of Doug's attitude rubbing off on me. So I don't know, I'm trying both things. With the video game, we put money into that. And I thought for sure, I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you dead honest. When I gave the money for the video game, I thought for sure I would get $0 back. I'll be honest. I'm just being honest with you. I put up quite a bit of money and I thought for sure I would lose it all. Because I just figured, not because I don't think Isto's an incredibly talented developer, not because I didn't think it was a good idea, but because I'm like, there's 1 million games released every day. Probably it'll do badly. Probably it'll just not get a sale. That's just my guess. I was like, I just assume we're not going to stand out. That's what I thought. It's a risk, right? It's a risk, but I figured if it's an expensive lesson to learn how to make and publish a video game, it'll be worth it. And we actually made profit, so it was cool, but that's the idea. It was a cost of training, I thought. Okay, I answered your questions. That wasn't so bad. It's kind of interesting. And I get to farm a clip out of it because I'm constantly monetizing. Put that in your assignment. How I turned your questions into content so that I can, anyway, actually that was kind of fun to answer. Thanks for asking. And thanks Vinny again for doing the interview.